initial seasons were really strong. I went first at regionals into first at nationals, actually, which won me a trip to the World Championships, where I then placed sixth at my first World Championships. And then in my second season, I finished second at my first regional, which won me money to go to nationals, which I won again, which won my mom and I a trip to Hawaii for Worlds, where I placed second. So I'd had an incredible first two seasons, first and second at regionals, first at nationals, second and sixth at Worlds. And I was like, this is great. I did so well. Now I'm going to win Worlds immediately. And then I had my worst season ever, which was 2013, where I think I took a lot of the wrong lessons from my success and ended up going very off the rails. And basically, just didn't really kind of allowed myself to get overwhelmed by the things that I could do and did not without stopping to think about the things that I should do in the team builder. And I built a lot of really, really bad habits. And so 2013, I would say, was definitely a failure of a season. And it was my worst Worlds performance for a couple of years. I finished 25th, which certainly isn't that bad. And I've certainly done worse since then. But yeah, for a while, it was my worst finish until 2018, actually. So in the first 7 years, it was my worst finish. And then 2014, I had to spend a lot of time kind of, unlearning a lot of the bad lessons that I had learned in that 2013 season that I think it took me even longer to fully unlearn them. Honestly, even through, I think, Sun and Moon era, I think I still was kind of lingering with the result of that 2013 season. But it was definitely hard. It was hard to go from, this person who had such incredible finishes and was doing well at every event up until, then to suddenly become a player who was, I don't think I top cut a single event in 2013. So it was a really hard fall from grace.
It's amazing how well you were doing initially with really just your entrance into the game. I mean, did you find in those initial tournaments that went well for you that as you were battling through, you were learning things? Were you taking a lot on board? Or was it only when you started to not go so well that the lessons kind of piled on?
I think I have a very growth-focused mindset, and that's been the case since I was, 15, 14. And so I think I was always learning things, but the problem is that some of the things that I was learning were not true, right? I was trying to take learnings from my experiences, but it's actually harder than you might think to look at a tournament and then a result and be like, oh, I know exactly why I did well, or I know exactly why I did badly. It's actually... I didn't find it easy, right? I think it's really easy to draw the wrong conclusions, but, as a kind of headstrong 16-year-old, I was perhaps a little bit more equipped or more want to do than I would be, a decade later. So, I think I was always learning lessons, but I think a lot of those lessons were not based in fact, but rather in my own perception.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. What would you say when those worst results started to come in? What would you say was the main lesson that you learned from that experience?
I mean, in the long run, I think the lesson was to take the right lessons. That was really kind of the takeaway there is don't just think about what sounds nice or what makes a nice story. Really look at why things, what is causing things to be the way that they are, rather than looking at what you drawing the conclusion that you want things to be. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that I got.
So, I mean, at the time, especially because at this point, of course, you were pretty young, you must be sort of understating quite how difficult it was to accept. Did it sort of lead to you ever just taking a step back and let the dust settle, or did you just continue to plow on doing tournaments?
I think at the time, I took losses really hard back then. Honestly, prior to 2018, honestly, I had a really hard time losing. Not I was, not I would rage or not shake my opponent's hand or anything, but I was really hard on myself whenever I lost, and to the point where I think I actually developed an unhealthy relationship with the game. I eventually had to change the way, change my relationship and change how I dealt with failure, because I was just so hard on myself after every loss that eventually it became unsustainable. And when I say loss, I mean, even when I was doing well, I got top 8 at US Nationals 2015, and I really was not happy with that result. I really beat myself up, and I'd come in with very little prep. My team had fallen apart, so I'd had to build something new last second, and so by all means it was a really good result. It put me at number 1 in championship points going into Worlds. I got the day 2 bye for Worlds, and it was a great result by all means, but I was upset about it. I was really upset that I didn't win the whole thing, which I think was, looking back, that was kind of a turning point for me, that something had to change with the way I was thinking about things, because it's not sustainable to think that you're going to win every tournament and then to be really hard on yourself when you don't win. So I think I was really, really hard. And actually at Worlds 2015 and then the following year at Nationals 2016, the failure felt so bad when I didn't win that I like really seriously considered stopping playing. And I was pretty like I ended up obviously deciding to keep going, but yeah, it was to the point where I was having such a hard time with the losses that I wasn't sure it was worth it to me to keep trying anymore, especially not having had as good of a season since my first really two in a while. 2015 season was good, but not quite that same level. Because I didn't have like the Great Worlds finish or the Nationals win.
Be kinder to yourself. Yeah, I think it's a lesson that so many people in the game would do well to bear in mind, just because competitive Pokemon is a game that has so much variance at play, and so even if a competition doesn't go particularly well for you, it may well not be anything to do with your fault. And I'm sorry that it was difficult having to learn that lesson sort of real time, but as you say, it sounds like that time you took the right lessons from it.
Yeah.
And of course then paved the way for much more success in 2016. But before we get into that, it's time to